the Heart Connection podcast, lovelies. This is a place to connect, to inspire, to heal, and to empower you to live a healthy, happy, and purposeful life from your heart. I'm Pavlina, your host. I'm an intuitive health and life coach, and I help women to connect to themselves, to step into their power and their purpose, and to heal from within. I believe that all issues we are experiencing in life, physical, mental, and emotional, arise from being disconnected from your heart, from your true self, and I'm going to help you to open your mind, to connect to your heart, and to heal from within. So let's dive right in. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Heart Connection podcast. The topic of today's episode is my favorite spiritual practices after recording last week's podcast. So actually I only recorded it a few days ago because I'm pre-recording this episode as I'm on holiday as you're listening to this. But because the episode was already about an hour long after I finished it, I thought I didn't even get to sharing my favorite spiritual practices, and the more I thought about it, the more I was thinking I really want to share these with you. And that's why I'm doing almost like a part 2 to last week's episode about how can spirituality help you with your health or with healing your physical body. And today is, like I said, continuation of last week's episode. And we will be talking, or will be sharing with you my favorite spiritual practices. And last week I talked about my spiritual journey, my healing journey, and my self-development journey. I shared about my spiritual awakening a little bit and how spirituality helped me with healing my physical body. And some of the practices I learned over the years, I have been also sharing with my clients, and when I'm working with clients one-on-one as part of the one-on-one deep healing program, I use a lot of the practices I use personally. I use them with my clients as well. So we might do some of them during our time together, during our sessions, but also I give my clients a lot of homework, and some of these spiritual practices are part of the homework. Some of my favorite ones over the years have been one of the main spiritual practice I have been practicing for many years now is meditation. And meditation, I've been meditating on and off for several years, but only maybe over the last 2 years I've had a consistent meditation practice. Before I would meditate for a while and then I would stop and maybe start again. I've done a few meditation workshops. I used to go to a regular meditation class at one point in my life, maybe 8 years ago or so. And I've learned different practices over the years, different meditation practices, different techniques. And I've also been a long time yoga practitioner. So meditation is part of yoga. Yoga is not just a physical practice on the mat, but it's also, there's the wider yoga, if you know a little bit about yoga, there's I don't want to get too much into yoga philosophy, but there's, especially in Ashtanga and in traditional yogic practices, there's 8 limbs of yoga, 8 parts of yoga, and meditation is one of them. And also your yoga practice can be, sometimes it's called meditation in motion. So especially if you practice different dynamic styles like Ashtanga or Vinyasa yoga, these dynamic styles are usually called meditation in motion because you usually do a certain sequence of yoga poses every day, and you practice the same sequence, or you switch between different sequences, and by repeating the same sequence of yoga poses over and over again every day, it gets so automated then that you should be meditating almost while practicing yoga, because it allows you the automation, the repetitive movement allows you to get out of the head while moving the energy in your body as well. Also, yoga, it was developed by by the old school yogis to keep your body healthy, so your body would be strong and flexible, and that you would be able to sit in meditation for long periods of time. So it's all connected, and the more I learn about yoga philosophy and old yogic teachings, the more I understand that everything they were talking about in old yogic texts and what old yoga philosophy talks about is pretty much getting out of your head, and connecting to your heart, connecting to your highest self, connecting to your soul and God and universe. So pretty much the purpose of yoga is to get out of your head, and it's a spiritual practice as such. So yoga and meditation, and I don't want to go too deep into different meditation practices. I'm not a meditation teacher anyway, but there's different styles of meditation, and I don't practice one style. I switch, and I don't follow a particular school of meditation or style of meditation. Like I said, I've learned different techniques, different styles over the years, and I usually just follow my own intuition, my own guidance. I might switch between guided meditations. You can find so many guided meditations online these days. And there's also, you're already meditating. If you just sit down, close your eyes and focus on your breath, that's already you meditating. It doesn't mean that you're not experienced in meditating, that it's not meditation. Only by sitting down and closing your eyes, you're already meditating. It's a practice. It's not, it doesn't have to be perfect or anything. You don't have to do anything specific, or you can even keep your eyes open and focus on, for example, on a flower or something, but just sitting quietly and putting your attention outside of your head and focusing either on your breath or on something else, then you're already meditating. And it doesn't matter that you still have thoughts. They will always be there, but just by getting out of your head and noticing the thoughts, you don't have to engage with them. That's the practice, not to engage with thoughts, and just breathe and keep focusing, for example, on your breath, or you could be focusing on a mantra, or you could be focusing on a part of your body, or like I said, on a flower, if you keep your eyes, or like a candle or anything else. There's different forms of meditation, but like I said, the objective of meditation is to get out of your head, because we are in our heads so much, and we live in our heads, because there's so much information today, and this information from all sides just coming at you, and we are just bombarded by all this information, and we just the mind keeps processing all this information, and it it's not present. Like when you're in the mind, you're not present. And when you get out of the head, when you connect to your breath, your heart, or whatever, it means you are present. The focus is on the present moment, because that's what we want. We don't want to be in the mind, because the mind tends to get stuck in the future or in the past. So we either thinking about what happened in the past, or we worrying about what could happen in the future. And that's what's causing anxiety, that causes depression, that can cause different health issues. I've talked about this in previous episodes, how our mind, our thoughts, our limiting beliefs, our previous experiences can influence our reality, how they can influence our health even, because our thoughts, our emotions have energy, and that can influence our health and well-being. So everything is energy. Everything has energy. So if we want to talking about spirituality, the whole point is to connect back to your heart, connect back to yourself, and connect to the universe, because spirituality is about realizing that you're not just your body and your mind, that you are an energetic being, and that you are connected to everything, that you are part of the universe, and that everything is connected, and that your energy is connecting you to everything else, and your energy, you are influencing your reality, the things around you, even people around you, your family, your partner, your friends, and you, by your energy, you're influencing even your future, because like I said, everything is energy. And if you ever heard of law of attraction, if you ever heard about manifestation and visualization, by all these things, by thinking about the future, by even the way you speak, you think, the words you use, and how you feel, that's all energy. And by that you can influence so many things. So it's so important not to dwell on the past, not to get stuck. And we all are stuck in subconscious programming, but be mindful about these things, and consciously come back to the present moment, connect to yourself every day. And by coming back to yourself, connecting to yourself, and to the universe or God or whatever, source, whatever you call it, then you are able to be more present every day and to calm your nervous system. And it's so beneficial for your health not to be stuck in your head all the time, because most people these days are just living on autopilot, just living from the subconscious mind, which is 95% of the time we are living from the subconscious mind. So the processes in our head, in our brain, in the mind, the thoughts you're thinking are based on your past experiences. And you keep repeating the same patterns, the same thought patterns, the same behaviors. You keep attracting same situations, same people into your life, and you keep creating the same or very similar experiences unless you start changing it, unless you start connecting to yourself, getting out of the head, and unless you start unblocking past beliefs, unblocking limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck, So by being mindfulness is another tool that's really useful when you start, and that's meditation is part of it. When you start meditating, new thoughts will come. It doesn't mean when you want to meditate that you will stop thinking completely. All people have thoughts unless you like an enlightened being or a yogic master or something, then you will have thoughts during meditation. Like I said, the point is not to get engaged with those thoughts. It's a practice. Like I said, you will keep engaging, your mind will keep engaging with the thoughts, but the practice is to keep coming back to your breath, keep coming back to your heart, keep coming back to the mantra or whatever you choose to focus on during meditation. And then you will be noticing the thoughts and becoming mindful of the thoughts. You will be able to start changing them as well. So another practice I like to use is journaling, especially free writing. You might have heard of morning pages. It's a practice used by there's a whole book about morning pages by, I can't remember her name right now, but I can put it into the show notes. And she wrote a book about morning pages. It's a practice where you write 3 pages by hand. So you're free writing whatever comes to your mind. And it's in a way form of meditation as well, because you just get out of head and you just write down whatever comes to mind, and by that you are able to notice your thoughts as well, and you are sort of able to get out of the head and just rewrite and get out whatever is on your mind. You sort of get it out on paper, and then either you can be done with it or you can come back to it, or you might start noticing patterns in writing, what you're writing about, what's on your mind every day, and then you can start consciously changing these thoughts. So that's another practice that can be very useful. But the topic of today's podcast is my favorite spiritual practices. So I sometimes do use morning pages. I don't do it regularly, and I don't consider it being a spiritual practice as such, but it came through, so maybe it will be useful for some of you. And I do use this practice with my clients, but like I said, it's not a spiritual practice as such, but it can be a useful practice, and it can help you with being more mindful about your thoughts. And as the objective of, or the point of meditation is to get out of your head, out of your thoughts, it might be helpful for you to actually notice what thoughts you are thinking. You might notice it during meditation, or you can even use the journaling practice and help you to notice these thoughts more, and then maybe start working through them and start changing them. Another spiritual practice I like to use is to connect to my inner voice, or to my intuition, to my soul. And I don't have a regular practice. I do it on a day-to-day basis, usually when I need to connect to my inner voice, when I have some questions, or when I feel like I need to connect to my inner voice, to my intuition, I will. But I don't have a practice as such of connecting to my inner voice every day. I might meditate every day, or almost every day. I meditate most mornings, most weekdays anyway. Weekends I might not meditate, because weekend days might look a bit differently for me. But with inner voice, with connecting to my inner voice, when I do it by myself, you might know that I am a certified inner voice facilitator with Just Lively. I did a certified inner voice facilitator training last year, and I am able to, and I use inner voice coaching as part of my work when I work with clients. But for me personally, the easiest way to connect to my inner voice is, again, writing. So I might not do morning pages, I might not do, some days I might, but some other days I might just write to my inner voice. So if I have questions I want to ask, I can just ask quietly in my mind and get the answer. But the easiest way for me, and it might be, it's easier for a lot of people to connect to their inner voice this way, is to write to their inner voice. And how I do it is just I write down a question I might have, and then I will write the answer. So it's automatic writing, is intuitive. Whatever's the first thing that comes to mind is usually the answer, and it can help you to take a few deep breaths beforehand, connect to your heart, connect to your intuition, or if you hear or feel your intuition in a different part of your body, then you can just focus your attention there. For me, it's in the heart, so I might take a few deep breaths, maybe even close my eyes and take a few conscious breaths, and then I will start asking the questions. Sometimes it's not necessary, but it's a nice way to connect, because using your breath, and I will get to using breath in a minute, but for when we do inner voice work, we work with your breath a lot, so it helps you to focusing especially on exhales, on deep exhales with your mouth, through, breathing out through your mouth. That helps you to get out of the head and connect to your intuition. So I might do that a few times, take a deep breath in with my nose, and then I breathe out with my mouth and put my attention into my heart and connect with my inner voice or my intuition. And that's a way that's another, let's say, spiritual practice I use. And the same way you can connect to any other energetic entity, let's say, you can connect to anyone else or anything else. It's just a change of frequency, and how you do it is just focusing your attention to who you want to connect to. So if you want to connect to some angels or God or some other entities, you can just ask. You can just set an intention. I want to connect to XYZ, and it's like a dial on the radio. You just change the frequency by setting the intention who you want to connect to. So if you want to connect with your inner voice, you will just, you can address your inner voice. Inner voice, what do you want me to know today? So you address your inner voice by talking to her talking to her specifically. If you want to talk to someone else, you will address God. You can address some angel or archangel, whatever is the light being or the entity you want to connect to, and then you can talk to someone else as well. But ultimately, you want to connect to your inner voice first, your intuition, your soul, because that's the ultimate connection. Everything else is additional, but your ultimate goal is to connect to your own soul, and by connecting, your soul is the extension of the universe anyway, because everything is connected. But having or creating and deepening the connection to your highest self, which is, there's so many different names and I use them interchangeably, but inner voice, intuition, soul, highest self, it's pretty much all the same. There might be slight differences, and I already said last time that I want to do a full episode about inner voice, but to make it easy, it's all the same. I might talk about it some other time more in detail, but connecting to the high part of yourself it's the ultimate goal, getting out of the head and connecting heart to your heart. It's another word for the same. So connecting to your heart, connecting to your intuition, connecting to your soul, connecting to your highest self. That's the ultimate goal, because only when you do get out of your head and connect to your heart, then you can be fully present. There's always other ways as well. And I think I shared it in a previous episode as well, that you can engage your senses to anchor yourself in the present moment. But today we're talking about spirituality and spiritual practices. So one of the best way to do it is to connect to your highest self. And I mentioned breath just before. So like I said, we use breath to connect to your inner voice, to get out of the head and connect to your inner voice. But there's so many different practices you can use with breath. It can be easy, or it can be more complicated, and there's different teachings, there's different schools, but it can be just really easy to focus consciously on breathing more deeply than you do, because a lot of people today, they breathe really shallow, their breaths are really shallow. And by breathing fully and slowly and consciously all the way into your belly, into your body, that's another way of connecting to your body and to yourselves, So even taking a few deep breaths a few times a day, it can be so beneficial for you, because breath is energy. Your breath is energy, is the life-giving force, and you wouldn't last more than a few minutes without taking another breath, unless you are trained. My boyfriend, he does free diving, and he's able to last without a breath for several minutes, but most of us aren't. So unless you're a trained diver or free diver, then you probably wouldn't last more than a couple of minutes without taking a breath. So it's a life-giving force, and by taking a few deep breaths, you're able to connect to yourself so much. And again, it's part of spirituality as well. It can be a spiritual practice. And like I said, there's so many different practices. And in the beginning, I mentioned yoga and the 8 limbs of yoga, 8 parts of yoga, and breath, or pranayama, what it's called, breathwork or breath practices, are part of yoga as well. So there's so many different practices you can do to deepen your spirituality, to deepen your spiritual practice, to deepen your yoga practice, connecting to your body, connecting to yourself. And breathwork is even used as a healing tool, just by taking a few deep breaths, by focusing on your breath during meditation, by focusing on your breath during yoga, or by sending your breath consciously into different parts of the body. It's so beneficial. It's so beneficial, and it can become a part of your spiritual practice. So that's another of my spiritual tools. One of the tools I use. There's times when I'm more regular with pranayama practice, with the breath practice. Sometimes I'm not as conscious, but even like I said, when you are connecting with your inner voice, or during meditation, taking a few deep breaths, or even when you're stressed out and you want to get out of the head and calm yourself down, you can just take a few deep breaths, and it helps you to get out of the head, get out of the fight or flight response, and it will calm the anxiety, it will calm your nervous system, and sometimes that's really all it takes. And it's such an amazing tool, such a profound tool. And like I said, I'm not a meditation teacher, I'm not a breathwork teacher either, but it can be so beneficial to use breath as part of your practice. Another tool I like to use, another spiritual tool I like to use, is to work with my chakras. And I mentioned last week that I learned to work with the chakra system from Dr. Joe Dispenza, and since then I've learned different techniques of work. Like, he uses them in meditations and to focus on your chakras one after another. And like I said last week, I don't usually do his guided meditations anymore. Sometimes I do, but not regularly anymore. But I use chakras, or I used to use chakras in quantum healing I don't use quantum healing with my clients as much anymore unless I feel it's necessary. But I am able to, the technique I learned when I did my quantum healing training a few years ago wasn't focused on chakras specifically, but I integrated the teachings from Dr. Joe Dispenza and into my quantum healing practice. So when I was doing quantum healing as an energetic healing technique, which I am able, or anyone who is trained in quantum healing is able to connect to your energy field. To pretty much, for me, it's how I learned it, is you go into deep meditation, and because in the quantum world everything is connected, in the energetic world everything is connected, and it is. It doesn't mean you don't see it, you don't feel it, that it doesn't exist. It does, and anyone can learn it, anyone can connect to it. But the technique I learned is I'm able to go into deep meditation and then connect to your energy field and scan your body for potential problems. If, for example, if you experiencing some health issues, I'm able to scan your body and see where the energy is not flowing, and I integrated working with the chakra system in quantum healing. I don't use the technique as much anymore because it can help in some instances, but over the last year or two, I started feeling that when I'm working with clients, I like to empower them. I don't like to fix them. I don't want to be a healer, even though I've learned techniques how to, I can people to heal as well this way, but I prefer for the client to be their own healer. So I work with them as their guide. I help them to get there. I hold space. I use different techniques to help them get there. But ultimately, if you use techniques like quantum healing or Reiki or different other healing techniques, ultimately you don't allow the client to take responsibility. And then a lot of people, I've experienced it with clients in the past, that they would expect to fix them, and for me it wasn't joyful, it wasn't fun. And so I pretty much stopped doing quantum healing and other energetic healing techniques, because I want my clients to like I said, take responsibility for their health and well-being and empower them to be their own healers. And that helps them to step into their power and to do it themselves. Because ultimately, if you try to fix someone, it might be, you might have good intentions, but over time they will, because if they don't change anything, nothing will change in the long term. They will over time get back to where they were before, because they didn't change anything in their life. And if you do experience health issues, physical, mental, emotional, whatever, it's always a sign from your soul, from your body, that you need to change something. So by me fixing you or someone else fixing you, it's not gonna last. It's not gonna last, and the problems will come back. They might look the same like before, they might look a bit different, but unless you take responsibility for your own health and for yourself, and unless you start changing something with someone's help, I'm here for you. I'm here for my clients, and I help them, I guide them, I support them along the way, but I empower them. I help them to be empowered and be their own healers. And by helping them to teaching them how to use some of these techniques I'm talking about, some of these practices, I help them to make changes that are lasting, long-term changes. So yeah, chakras. How I work with chakras today myself is I do it at the moment. I'm doing it more regularly again. I might not do it all the time, and I do it intuitively. That for a while I feel that I need one of the practices I am talking about, that I need to do them more frequently, I need to do them more often, and then after a while I don't feel like need them as much anymore, so I might stop or I might choose a different technique. It doesn't mean that like all these techniques I'm talking about, all these spiritual practices I'm talking about, it doesn't mean that because I'm talking about them, I do all of them every day. I might some days, but a lot of the time I just do one or two, and I might switch in between them. I might choose a different one each day. Meditation has been quite a regular practice for me in the last couple of years, but it doesn't mean that I do meditate every day, and one day I might not, and I might journal instead, or I might just do yoga in the morning, and I might not meditate, or I might dance, or I might shake, or I might do breath work, or I might do something else. I just do it intuitively. And in the beginning, when you don't have such a strong connection with your intuition like I have now, you might want to, it's easier to do one thing for at least some period of time to get used to it. It's good to do these things at least for, they say it's at least for 3 weeks. You should do, if you want to learn a new thing, you should do it for 3 weeks every day until you get used to it, and then it becomes a habit. So if you want to get into a habit of having a spiritual practice, you might start with one and then maybe at another one, or switch to a different one, play with it, try it out, what works for you or what doesn't, and then you might choose a different one again. With chakras at the moment, I like to include them into my meditations, and for example, like Dr. Joe Dispenza has he calls them blessing of the energy centers. His meditations that focus on your chakras, they're quite long, and they might be 40 minutes long. Some of them are even more than an hour long. Because I'm already so used to this practice, for me, it usually takes, if I do it regularly, it only takes a few breaths for each chakra. So I might do it during my meditation, or at the end of my meditation. I might just take a few breaths by focusing on each chakra, and I can feel if the chakra is open or not. So for you, you might want to, if you wanted to include a practice that focuses on your chakra system, you might want to learn it first from, like I said, either Dr. Joe Dispenza or someone else. There's so many guided meditations, for example, on YouTube these days. I have done one guided meditation that focuses on chakras in Czech. In the past, I haven't created one in English. I might do it in the future as well, but I haven't gotten to it yet. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, maybe just go on YouTube. And I think there's these days even meditations from Dr. Joe Dispenza on YouTube. There never used to be, and you had to buy his meditations on his website. I think these days, a friend told me recently that they are for free on YouTube now as well. So if you wanted to try it out, look for Blessing of the Energy Centers, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and you could find them there. These are probably the main spiritual practices and techniques I use. There might be different little rituals, I use. For example, even now recording this podcast, I have a candle in front of me. I like to create space, when working with clients, but also now when I'm talking with you, when I'm talking to you, I have a candle. I have a crystal in my hand. There's different things I like to use in my spiritual practice. Again, it's not something I do religiously, that I wouldn't be able to meditate without lighting a candle, but I like to create a nice space. So before I started today, I lighted a candle. I do have crystals on my desk anyway all the time, but I selected an amethyst for this episode intuitively, so that's why I'm holding right now. And I might use essential oils to get into the mood, to create the atmosphere. I might pull a card. I really love oracle cards, so I might use a card, and there's all these other things. Another thing I really like as part of my spiritual practice, or my meditation practice sometimes, is chanting. I love mantras. And it's part of yoga as well, that especially I've practiced Ashtanga yoga for a long time, and you chant at the beginning of your practice and at the end of your practice. But even sometimes when I'm working, I'm listening to chanting. I love, for example, Deva Premal or other ones as well. There's so many artists I like to listen to, but she's one of my favorites, and she even does, her and her partner, they do live chantings. They call it Gayatri Gathering or something like that. They have live events since COVID started. They've had it every week, I think every Saturday. So you could even catch them live, or I think they on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. If you like chanting, and sometimes tune in and chant with them. So that's under the spiritual practice you might like to do. Sometimes when I'm feeling lower on energy, or when I feel like I need to clear my energy field, sometimes it's even enough to have a shower, and to wash it all off. But there's different techniques, different practices. My inner voice once told me I could do a light shower. You can just visualize a shower of light coming from source, from the universe upon you, and clear your energy field. And it's always about intentions, and it can feel really nice. So you can have a literal shower and go into the bathroom and have a shower, and that could help you to clear your energy field as well, because water is energy. It's natural, so it helps you to connect with nature, to clear your energy field. And the same is when you go into nature. For example, this afternoon I wanted to record the podcast episode much earlier, but there was some drilling happening outside of my window, so I couldn't do it. And I was a bit upset and angry because I'm leaving on holiday tomorrow, and I wanted to record this podcast before I go on holiday, so I can publish it for you while I'm away, so you don't miss out. But there was this drilling going on, and I was a bit upset and angry, and I just went for a walk. It was even raining a little bit, and I didn't care. And it was so nice to walk in nature and let the rain fall onto me, and the water and the energy of nature. helped me to clear the emotions and come back to myself. And now they stopped, and I had an hour to record before I jump on another call. So yeah, it worked out perfectly in the end, and I was able to connect with nature, connect to myself again, and it's beautiful. And yeah, walking in nature or connected, sitting in nature on the ground, earthing, it's so beneficial. Even before I started working with energy a lot, I started noticing when I'm in nature and I close my eyes, I can actually see energy, almost like it's little particles of energy coming to me and cleansing my energy system, energizing me. And I was so surprised when I noticed it the first time, or when I hugged a tree, I could see it. And now I know so much about energy and energy work and how it all works. But first time it was so surprising, and I didn't know what it was. But it's so helpful to connect to nature. It's so good for your body, for your health, and for everything. So connecting with nature on a regular basis can be a spiritual practice as well. And it's so much easier to connect, to meditate in nature, and to connect to your inner voice when you are in nature. So it can be a spiritual practice as such to go on walks, and connect to nature consciously. One more thing I wanted to mention is prayer. I talked about this in last week's episode. I'm not a religious person, even though I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not religious. And prayer for a long time was something very foreign to me. And over the last year, maybe, I don't do it regularly, but sometimes, especially when I was going through a rough patch, I started noticing that it's really helpful to pray or talk to the universe, talk to God. I don't use religious prayers. I just talk, about what I would like, about what I'm going through, and sometimes even asking for help. When you're having a difficult time and you don't know what to do, then you can just ask the universe, God, whoever else. You can ask some angels for help, or whoever are the light beings you want to call in and help you. It can be really helpful. And that's something I had to learn over time. We tend to, or the mind always wants to have control, and if it's not in control, then it's stressed out. So when you realize that you are not the mind, and when you're going through the transition, and when you're going through spiritual awakening, and you realize that things aren't the way you thought them to be, and then there's more to this life than just the physical, it can be a bit overwhelming. But then you realize that you can actually talk to your inner voice and the universe and your soul and so much more, and then prayer, it can be such an amazing tool when you are feeling alone, when you are feeling lost, or when you're not sure what to do. Then you can just ask for help, and you can just tell the universe, God, source, whoever, how you're feeling, and you can just ask the universe to help you. You might not know what you need or want, or so you can just ask for help. Help me to solve the situation, and then let it go. Then surrender to whatever will happen. But prayer can be a powerful tool as well. Okay, so I think that are the main spiritual practices I wanted to mention today. Let me know if that was helpful for you. I hope it was. If you have any questions, as always, let me know. You can find me on Instagram and at Pavlina.Jiroshkova, or you can find me on my website www.pavlinajiroshkova.com. So if you do have any questions, please let me know. You can come over to Instagram and share your takeaways with me. It would be so nice to know that you have listened and that it was helpful for you. And it would be nice to get some feedback. And if you like this episode, please subscribe to the podcast, review. That would mean so much to me. And I will look forward to talking to you again next week. Have a wonderful week, my lovelies. Sending you so much love from my heart to yours. And I will talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.
This episode was brought to you by my signature Deep Healing program. The One-on-One Deep Healing program is a high-level 6-month coaching and intuitive healing program for women with chronic health issues such as eczema, autoimmune disease, digestive or hormonal issues. If you are ready to connect to your true self, to step into your power and to heal from within, this program is for you. You can finally have an understanding of what your body and your soul need to heal on all levels. You will learn proven tools to get you there, and you will receive ongoing support from me throughout your healing journey. Together, we will uncover and unblock the underlying causes of your health issues so you can start living a healthy, happy, fulfilled, and purposeful life. So are you ready to take responsibility for your own health and well-being and to heal from within? Just head over to www.pavlinajiroshkova.com and schedule a discovery call with me. I'm so excited to hear from you.